G'day champions, thank you for joining me as we dive into our next lesson on measurements. Today we are looking at the area of 2D shapes. So last lesson we were talking about perimeter, which is the distance around the outside of a shape. Today we are looking at the space inside, also known as the area. Okay, so for our key point, area is the space inside a 2D shape, okay? So starting with a simple example, here is a rectangle, and if we're trying to find the area, we're basically trying to find how many of these little, what we call a square unit, is inside the shape. All right, so one option is you can count up all the squares, or if you're real smart, rather than doing that, you'll just do 8 multiplied by 3. All right, so for a rectangle, all you need to be doing is the base multiplied by the height. So I'm just going to write A for area is the base of 8 multiplied by 3. So we get 24. All right. Now, because this is an area, like I said, we were counting up the square units. So our unit is units squared. Okay, so make sure you have that little squared on your answer so that it is 100% correct. All right, so for some examples to sort of flesh this out, we're going to find the area of these 3 figures first. All right, the first one is a triangle. Now, the trick with triangles is that if you look at this shape here, it's exactly, well, it's roughly half of this shape. Okay, so a triangle, in terms of the area inside, is always going to be half of a rectangle. So for a rectangle, we always do base times height. So for a triangle, we're just going to do base times height, and then we're just going to halve our answer. All right, so for this question, all we need is the 8 and the 6. We don't actually need the 10 at all. I've just thrown that on there to trick you. All you need is the 2 lengths of the base and height. All right, so I'm going to write, it's even a little formula we use for a triangle. Area equals half BH. Okay, half the base times the height. So if we do, let's just call, it doesn't really matter which way you look at it, let's just call 6 the base and 8 the height is probably the easiest way. So we'll do the base times the height. And now we want half that answer, so we just divide it by 2. Okay, that's how you find a half. All right, so 6 times 8 would be 48, and then we've got to find half of 48 by dividing by 2. So half of 48 is 24. And again, we need our units. If it was a length, it'd be meters, but because this is an area, it is meters squared, square meters. Okay? Now, the next one is pretty tricky. This shape is called a trapezium, and there is an area formula to find it. The reason why I'm doing this weird shape we did today is because trapeziums are actually a pretty big part of standard maths, which you guys hopefully going to be doing in year 11 and 12. So the formula that everyone always forgets for a trapezium is, all right, so we're going to call these 2 flat sides, the 2 parallel sides, ones that are stacked, you know. We're going to call this one A, this one B, and we're going to call how far apart they are. We're going to call that height. All right. The area formula that everyone forgets is area equal to half the height, so height divided by 2, multiplied with the 2 flat sides plus together. Okay, and just knowing that formula is half the battle. The actual formula itself is not too tricky. We've just got to do our height divided by 2, so we're going to do half of 7. And we can just do this all with a calculator. We're doing half of 7 multiplied with the 2 flat sides plus together. So we're doing the 6 plus the 10. All right, I'm going to put that into my calculator. See what we get. 7 over 2 multiplying with, well, 6 plus 10 is 16. So I'll do 16. And it gives me an answer of 56. Once again, this is an area, so we need our units squared. So we're doing 56 square meters, meters squared. All right. So if you're taking notes, please jot this formula down, because if you remember it, it's going to save you a lot of stress next year. All right. Pretty important shape. All right. And for the third one, this is a composite area, which is a fancy way of saying it's made up of little shapes, because we don't have an area formula for this L shape. So the way we approach this is we cut it into 2 rectangles. Okay, so So we're just going to find the area of this rectangle here. I'm going to find the area of this rectangle here and then add them together. Okay? So this big rectangle on the left, well, it's 8 millimeters wide and it is 10 millimeters tall. So the area of this is going to be 8 multiplied with 10. It's going to be 80 millimeters squared. We don't actually need the units for now. Let's just write 80. Okay? And this little one down here, this is 4 across and it's 3 tall. So if we do 4 times 3, we get 12. All right, now we just add those two together. So we're just going to say, area is equal to 80 plus 12. And so that's going to be 92. So we'll write 92. Our units are millimeters and it's an area. So we do square millimeters. All right, cool. That's level 1 done. Let's have a look at level 2. Maybe a little bit of a step up in difficulty. Not too bad though. We're going to try and find the pink area in this shape here. Okay, so we don't want the area of the rectangle. We just want the pink part. I want you to think about how you would do that. Okay, how would you get just the pink part? If you are screaming at your screen that if we do the area of the rectangle and then we take away the area of the triangle, well, you are completely correct. All right, if we take away the triangle from the rectangle, it'll leave us with just this pink part around the edge. Okay, so the area of the rectangle outside, well, the rectangle is 20 meters wide and it's 17 meters tall. So we do 20 times 17. I'm just going to write area actually to do this properly. So we've got area, the rectangle is 20 multiplied with 17. Now we've got to take away the triangle. So remember from up here, I said the way we find the area of a triangle, if I can scroll up properly, is we do the base times the height and then we divide our answer by 2. We find half of it. Okay, it's half a rectangle. So with this triangle here, we have a base of 16 and we have a height of 13. So all we need to do is 16 times 13 and then we need to do half of that. All right, so we're going to do half of 16 times 13. All right, cool. So on our calculator, 20 times 17 is going to be what? 340? 340. All right, and if I do 16 times 13, it's 208. So if I do half of that, I get 104. So 340 is our rectangle, 104 is our triangle. If I subtract them, I get the leftover, which is the pink area. So we're going to get 236. Okay, take away the 100 and then take away the 4. And in this picture, all of our units were meters, so I'm just going to write meters squared. Okay, last one now, level 3 question, big scary one. Finding the area of this figure, and we're going to round it correct to 2 decimal places. So this scary looking shape down here is called a quadrant. The reason why we call it a quadrant is because it is a quarter of a circle. That was terrible, but you get the picture, okay? So this point here is our center, and we're trying to find a quarter of the circle's area. So straight away, first thing we need to know to answer this question, bit of a flashback, is that for the area of a circle, you do pi, magic number on the calculator, multiplied with the radius squared, okay? Pi r squared, you might have heard it before. So for this one, all that needs to be done is we need to do pi times radius squared, and we just need to divide our answer by 4 to get a quarter of the circle, not the whole thing, okay? So let's have a go. So we do area equals pi, which we'll need a calculator for. Our radius is the distance from the center to the edge, which in the picture you can see is 4.5. So we got 4.5 squared. And okay, so that would be the area of the whole circle, pi r squared. Like I said, we want a quarter of it, so I'm just going to do that divided by 4. Okay, this is where I get the calculator involved. So I'm going to do pi times 4.5 squared, divide my answer by 4, and my calculator says 15.9043 blah 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 blah. This question wanted us to round to 2 decimal places, so we need to stop at the 0. Luckily the next number is a 4, so we don't need to round up. It's not going to be a 9-1, it's going to stay as a 9-0. So our answer is 15.90. Our units was centimeters squared. Okay, there is our quadrant rounded to 2 decimal places. Okay, that's it for today. Hopefully that jogged your memory a bit on how to find areas of shapes. This is a bit of everything. And there'll be some practice for you guys on MathSpace. And if there's any questions, shoot me an email. All right, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.